I call this meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to ask our superintendent to lead us in our prayer and pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the blessings of life. We realize you have blessed us far beyond our needs, and we're so grateful and thankful for that. We would ask you to bless this meeting. May we do the things that would be in accordance with thy will, but also may we do the things that would be in the best interest of our school system, our children, our students, the faculty and staff and parents and the whole community. Be with us that we might have the wisdom to make the right decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Superintendent. I'd like to welcome our guests. All of you, thank you for coming. If you have anything you'd like to say at this time, now it's time to do that. Moving on. Dr. Cadet. Advanced Ed District Presentation Update.
Good evening, board members. This is an update of where the progress we've made so far since our advanced ed report came in last year. We participated. They recommended us for accreditation, but like all other districts, we had some findings. And so today I wanted to walk through some of the progress that we've made so far, and also to explain to you that a lot of times when we're working as a district instructional team, we come back to this document to make sure that the initiatives that we are implementing are aligned to this report so that we can show that we are making that progress. And we also believe that the findings support many of the things that we're seeing in our schools and the needs that we have to improve for the benefit of our students. So let's start with required action number 1. This one refers to develop board policies regarding ethics, conflict of interest, and required professional development for board members. You have the actual findings underneath the PowerPoint, the required actions, I should say. So if you wanted to refer to the narrative that goes along with that, that's available to you. I'll show you some of the progress that we've made so far in this action. I'll walk through each of the actions. I'll state the action, the required action, and then I'll show you the progress that we've made and also provide you some evidence. The evidence that I have to show you is your evidence. You have participated in the Master Board training. And here's a press release. The distinction of Master Board was awarded to the Lee County School District Leadership Team by the Florida School Board Association for annual joint conference held December 6, 2013. So excellent job on that. That helps us with one of our findings as far as professional development goes. I don't know that the public realizes how much training you go through. I have a spreadsheet here of one of the board members, and I know you all have your own sheet, but it shows all of the events and all the training that you go through. It goes along with our philosophy of providing training and professional development to our teachers, our paraprofessionals, again, for the benefit of our students so that we can be informed and be professional. So appreciate the work done there. Also, we have the boardmanship form, just giving some examples of the types of training that you are involved in. I'm sure you recognize some of this. So this is again for the public. They can see what you do. And also you are required to do ethics training each year. You did fulfill that requirement last year, but it's annual. And so just another example of evidence. And going back to the PowerPoint to show the progress that was made.
Mr. Dr. Then I add that the training for this year, the board will be doing in December the 3rd, I think, 3rd or 4th. 3rd through the 5th, and so they're all signed up, and so they will have the ethics training this year, next month.
Very good. And going back to the actions, develop board policies regarding ethics, conflict of interest, and required professional development. So the first two really address the training aspect. Ethics training's been completed and will be annually. And then finally, there's an upcoming workshop to address some issues that you've discussed as a board and that you would like to work on some more. So I think we're making adequate progress towards the required action on this one. Moving forward, action number 2, develop and implement a systematic plan for using data from multiple assessments of student learning to vertically and horizontally align curriculum instruction. So take a look at that. Some key words, and look at this one, is data and instructional alignment. It's one thing to have a data system. You know we have performance matters. We use assessments on a regular basis. But how does that impact instruction? So first of all, I wanted to share with you some of the different types of reports that we have in progress monitoring tools. Once again, I think Lee County is out front on one of these initiatives, and I have before you a report from iGrade. This is a K-5 progress monitoring tool that we're using. It provides assessments, formative assessments to see how the students are, where the students are, a baseline assessment, and then it assigns in a prescriptive manner different modules for our students to work through, not just assessment items, but actual modules. So I've had a chance to observe this in the classroom, in the elementary classroom at center time, and in other times during the day, and I think this is going to have a positive impact on us. We've read recently that 2 larger districts are saying they're not going to use FAIR anymore, that they're going to be using iReady. We've had iReady in our schools for a full year. Marion County called me last week to ask me, what are you using for progress monitoring, because we don't have anything. And I shared with her that we were using iReady, and she said, well, I really wish we could have iReady, we don't have it. So our instructional team and Michael Holman and some other folks have really worked hard to make sure this is in our schools. This is one example of a progress monitoring tool that we have. We also have purchased the Florida, we have our LEAs, our Lady Interim Assessments. The Lady Interim Assessments work with FCAT 2.0. They do not work for the Florida standards, the new Florida standards. And that's why other districts are calling us and we're calling them, what are you using for the new assessments, new standards, and so forth. We can use LEA for science, and we are using it for science and upper grades, math, and so forth, but it's not something we would use for language arts and for the lower grades of math. It's more for EOCs. We also have this Florida Formative Assessment Bank. We're real excited about this. These are Florida standards-like questions that have been developed by some of the teachers here in Florida. We had a teacher from Cedar Key who presented this information to us. We've been working with Progress Testing on some other items, so they gave us a 50% discount. It's only going to cost our district, it's less than $4,000 to have items from K all the way up to 11th grade in multiple subjects. This is a great thing for our teachers, because if you look at the next one, instruction and modifications in alignment. What we really need to do for our teachers is put into their hands, like Kim Bishop found at Cedar Key, items that they can work with. They can share them either via Elmo, have the students work on them collaboratively and try to problem solve. And then after they've gone through that process, she can assess where they are and then actually do some reteaching and some modeling how to attack those types of problems. So again, I think we're out front on this one. It's not going to be easy for any of our students in the spring, and really for any of the districts in Florida as they take this new assessment. But providing them the opportunity to use these assessment items will help. You know we have curriculum maps at the district level. I have an example here of a curriculum map in math. All of our teachers, all of our subjects, we designed or are designing curriculum maps. One of the features of this one I want to show you that's very important. First of all, as a principal or a district person, I can pull this map up and look at the focus calendar to determine where the teachers are in that unit for that group of students. And I can go in and see what should they know, understand, and be able to do as a result of the teaching and learning that's happening in that classroom. And here's just some examples that are real, these are statements that were developed by our teachers. These were not handed down from another district. Our teachers came together to write these. And so this gives us a clear indication. Again, when we talk about assessments and formative assessments and look-fors, these would be the look-fors that we would have as we walk into the classroom. Also this summer, because every teacher has to have an assessment, we've talked about it quite a bit in our meetings, we created blueprints. Here's an example of a social studies 6th grade assessment. The social studies teachers would have gone through this with a lead person, a facilitator, in this case Carol Jones, and look at the benchmark, which was actually put on this form for them. We pulled it off of CPOMs, and then they would determine where the number of questions they think we should ask, and the item complexity. Just by reading the standard, how complex of an item do you think we should have for this particular benchmark? This was done all summer, and we're continuing to work on this, PE, social studies, and beyond, all of our classes. There's an example of a blueprint, which really does speak to data and instructional alignment. How are we aligning our instruction? How are we assessing our students? And how are we changing our instruction? We also have you were at this, most of you had an opportunity to attend. So just to give you an example of how we try to align our initiatives, you'll see here, it's not expanding for me, but this is the Professional Development Day in-service calendar. You have math, Florida Standards training, ELA, curriculum tool-based creating questions, civics. We had Steve Masada here at UCF to come and work with our civics teachers. I think you're familiar with most of that day and what we were able to provide. We had the vocabulary with Janet Allen, college training, and all of that speaks to instructional alignment and strategies and how to best prepare our students to be successful, not only on the assessments, but later and to be successful with college and career readiness. So we'll move, that was required action number 2. Required action number 3. Question?
When you were talking, referring to the formative assessment bank, you said that covered most areas. We have plans and things to provide.
We have the item bank test platform, but we have concerns about the item bank test platform in that when we're going in to write blueprints, and Barb, you can help with this, we're seeing that the items that are available in certain subjects and courses are very limited. And the items are not of the highest quality we're seeing. So we're still evaluating the complete bank. We just made a final decision on this on Friday. So did you want to share all of the different?
As I've worked with the item bank, and luckily Performance Matters has uploaded a lot of the items because it's the functionality of the item bank is very laborious and requires a lot of clicks. But for example, today I was using the blueprint for Spanish just to see what kind of items were in there. Well, most of them were audio items. Item bank didn't differentiate whether they were Spanish or German, and luckily when I went into Performance Matters, it did, because that could have been really unfortunate for some students. But the biggest issue we're seeing is the type of items that are in there that are usable at this point where we are with the technology and the functionality of our technology isn't as robust as we need.
Where did this bank come from?
This came from Progress Testing, the company that we've used in the past, historically been FCAT test maker, if you recall.
Yeah.
And that's why we're familiar with Jonathan, his team. They also purchased the Hillsborough Item Bank. So we already had access to the Hillsborough Item Bank, and because we had, through another grant, purchased that, we were able to get a 50% discount on this. And next year, we're hoping on the upgrade or the renewal that they will continue to provide us that.
I think I'm kind of hearing that maybe that 50% was what Ms. Rivers was saying, very laborious.
That's the item bank.
That's the item bank with the state.
That's the
The
state
one that the
platform.
state created with raising the top
That's what I
funds.
asked, where did
Yeah.
this assessment bank come from?
Yeah, this assessment then came from a private company that brought teachers together to write the items.
This
This
Florida form.
Yes.
That's the one that we're using,
Yes.
that is not covering all of our areas.
No, the one that Ms. Rivers was describing is the one that's not covering all of our areas and it has the issues with the platform. The IBTP, Barb, Ms. Rivers, if you could run through a list of the courses that are covered under the Florida Formative Assessment Bank. I think that's Mr.
The
Turner's
Florida
asking.
Formative Assessment Bank, we got to enable teachers to use.
Okay.
And so that covers the ELA, math, and the EOC courses, and science for 5th and 8th. So that will enable them to mimic some of the items and the difficulty that that the students will encounter when they take the assessment, to give them the opportunity to understand the depth of understanding they have to have for that benchmark. So it's, the teachers right now don't have a lot to draw on. And they're trying to, they want to make sure that they're teaching the benchmark deep enough. And this is going to enable them to get a better understanding of how the depth of the testing on the benchmarks. The IBTP is is what the district is using to create the EOCs, along with the CFAC items, which seem to be a little better written and a lot broader, a lot more
And this is the
assessments.
most current information we can provide you, Mr. Turner, is that tomorrow we are meeting with 10 other districts from NEFAC in Union County to share what we have from CFAC, to look at blueprints and determine which items and which tests we're willing to share across county lines for the purpose of administering these end-of-course exams, because the task is so big. And it's such a huge task for all of us that meeting tomorrow is going to, we believe, yield some real positive results, to collaborate with other districts on a plan on how we can work together on these assessments that have to be developed. And some of those assessment items will be graded by CFAC folks, some will be in-house, graded by some directors of curriculum, like Renee Hurst. I know she's written some items, and across the counties, they have been involved in the same work that we're involved in, and tomorrow we're going to collaborate on that. Number 3, incorporate instructional strategies throughout the system that enhance student engagement, self-reflection, and the use of critical thinking skills. We have really been focusing on instructional strategies and engagement. We have worked with Learning Focus. Max Thompson's been in our schools. Interestingly, NEFAC discovered Max the last 6 months or so, and they're having several NEFAC districts train on most of the training that we've already participated in. And so to have us go back, it would be a repeat for our schools. So we feel like we've done some good training, and now some of the other districts are also coming alongside with Learning Focus. These are the main strategies that we're talking about on a regular basis with our teachers and our principals. Extended thinking, summarizing, vocabulary writing, and nonverbal representations. And you can see evidence of that in the footprint of all those high-use strategies at our last professional development session. I also wanted to show you a document that, obviously, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to these strategies. You've seen them. You were all in the classroom. High-impact strategies, and we did this crosswalk. If you go back to Just Read, and Stu Greenberg came out to our district, here are his top 6, Just Read Florida. Vocabulary, summarizing, reading comprehension, writing to grade achievement, extended thinking, advanced organizers. The Fry Essential 6. You Google vocabulary, Q&R, question and answer relationship, summarizing concept maps, column notes, critical teaching. The rapid response, these are on the right-hand side are Learning Focused, Max Thompson's. Same strategies. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're doing it effectively, highly effective utilization of these strategies. And that's where professional development comes in. And making sure that principals, coaches, we're all talking the same language, we're all looking at these strategies in the same way. Remember the finding was also engagement and collaboration leading to college and career readiness, because as you know, when they leave school and now in high school and college, they're going to be expected to collaborate, work together, solve problems, and it's also an effective way to teaching and learning. So here's an example of training that we provided. One of our teachers provided this during Professional Development Day. WICOR is very popular in our secondary schools, especially with AVID. WICOR stands for Writing, Inquiry, Collaboration, Organization, and Reading. It's the bedrock of AVID. So if engagement is so important and collaboration, we have a conduit to that, and that would be through WICOR. The WICOR strategy in every classroom will make a difference. This is a teacher delivering this to other teachers in our district, a collaborative group presentation. They had to work together on a poem. They had a rubric with the performance elements, pre-performance, post-performance. Cheryl Crawford and the team did an excellent job of preparing this. Here's the rubric on what the expectation was for the teachers involved in this training. More, again, critical thinking that goes along with those high-yield strategies is a part of this training. Just giving you some examples of how we're trying to embed this in all the things that we're doing. Costa's level of thinking, sample prompts and questions to help bump up the level of questioning in our classrooms. Some real examples there. And then a nice, this is being used in Bronson, Science Notebook, and other schools throughout the district. The science notebooks, and here's some examples of what they would put into those notebooks: Venn diagrams, brainstorming, all kinds of things that are collaborative and engaging for students. And those notebooks they use as study guides when it comes time to prepare for a test and have discussion with their classmates. We have great books, Springboard, Leading Math Institute. Leading Math Institute has a 10-day academy. Other districts have been asking us, what does that look like? You know that we brought in someone to help us with that, and the Vermont Math Institute has been very successful. Have some of the highest scores in the United States coming out of that program, and so we're into our third cycle. The more people that we have trained in the Leading Math Institute, 10 days of full immersion in math concepts, not in the instructional strategies, but the actual concepts of math, prepares elementary teachers who didn't necessarily go into teaching to be math teachers, provides them that foundation so they can go into the classroom and teach higher level math. So we think that's going to yield some positive results. Again, those are the instructional strategies and the engagement, the crossover there. Collins Writing. I put FFA on there. I mean, how can you get more engaged than that? Of course, Mr. Philpott can speak to that, and several of you in the room that have been involved. CTE is another great example of engagement. And then the AP study groups, teachers like Mr. Wilson meeting on Saturdays with students and preparing those students to work together and collaborate in preparation for the AP exam, and having his students 13 pass 100% 1 year. It says a lot about instruction strategy and engagement. So we are making progress towards this. I think the high-yield strategies are still a work in progress. To be at the highest level requires a lot of PD. Card action number 4, develop and implement an instructional process used systematically by all teachers that clearly inform students of learning expectations and standards of performance. This is the whole concept of students knowing what they're being assessed on. First and foremost this year, we really put a strong emphasis on core curriculum alignment, using the core curriculum materials. They're expensive. We invest in them as a district, and so to just take them and put them on the shelf and then have this kind of inconsistent approach to the core materials, at this point, with our scores and where we are as a district, the number one thing is consistency. Using those tools, but also having dialogue. If the tools are not meeting the needs of our students, then make your coaches aware, make us aware, open source, communicate what those issues are so we can go in and help make sense of what the issues are, and then provide support.
What's the difference between core curriculum alignment and common core?
Well,
Sounds like the same thing to me.
Well, core is referred to as the core instruction. That was before Common Core came to be. We've always referred to the core instruction as the core materials the core resources, the core curriculum that we would use to teach the standards, not necessarily the Common Core standards, but any standards. It's always been referred to as the core.
Okay.
So we're referring to it as the core to teach the Florida standards, which can be construed as being aligned to the Common Core, but that's not what I mean by it. That's not, I should have said that when I mentioned that first bullet. So our alignment is to make sure that we are teaching those standards using the core curriculum to teach those standards. We also have teachers created exemplars, which I wanted to show you. We've been having our teachers work with Core Connections. And they come in and create exemplars together as a group. And sorry about the scratch, but this is an example of teachers from across the district coming together, working on a standard. Here's an example of after reading pages 116 and 17. 117, discuss with your partner the meaning of the word heard. Now use the text and write a sentence or two describing the word heard. This is developed by teachers to deliver to their students in the classroom, but they collaborated together on this particular constructed response. The extended response question, there's an example there, and then they actually have to write an exemplar response so they can share it with their students. So the students know what to look for and what the expectation is and how it sounds and how to write it, and and then they end up showing them how to do this. So we have been real impressed with our teachers working together on these standards and with the curriculum. Here's another example of a second grade. Again, you see that standard is referenced, LAFS. Explain the lesson that Nancy learned in Feels Good, a field goes fishing. Fool goes fishing, sorry, fool goes fishing. And then there's the answer that they would expect from their students. And look at this is second grade. If our second graders are writing to learn, then they're going to increase their comprehension. All of our students are going to be expected to write on the new Florida assessment. So the sooner we get them writing and using vocabulary and thinking like this and working together, the stronger they will be. But in order to do that, teachers have to create the exemplar. And this is done in collaboration in a session, a learning session together.
Dr. Winnick,
Yes.
we're talking about writing and the emphasis on that. At one point in time, I know the emphasis on moving digital. What point in time will they be on a keyboard typing? When does that?
This year it is fifth and up, and then it'll slowly move, in the next couple of years, it'll move down to fourth and third.
So what will we do?
I will say that is a point of contention, with us and DOE.
Yes.
Because what we keep emphasizing is that, are we interested in their manual dexterity and their ability to type, or are we interested in what they learn? And so that's, I don't know where that will end up. Hopefully DOE will pay some attention to us, but it is a point of contention.
This is one that Ms. Rivers laid on my desk as well. It's an anchor chart, is that what you refer to?
An anchor chart from the fifth grade math classroom. And what was nice about it is, you could see the kids, the teacher had worked with the kids on understanding the use of the base 10 blocks with whole numbers and then how to use it with the decimals. And that's a huge thing for fifth graders. And then she was using it as she was showing how the value increases and decreases moving the decimal. But she used it, she referred to it, and the kids, I could see the comprehension and the understanding that the students demonstrated in their work. So it was a really good anchor chart for them.
Let's switch back over to an example from one of our schools. We've been taking pictures of things that we see, the evidence of things, and here's a standard. This is on the outside wall of the classroom. And how can you compare complete and incomplete metamorphosis? And here's an example of a student response at a high level response. But that being on the outside of the classroom really emphasizes what the expectation is, and it ties it back to the standard. I actually called the principal today and said, can you send me a copy of that? And she went and took some pictures, and we really want to see more of this outside of our classrooms, and inside the classroom as well. Then we have the Florida Formative Assessment Bank. I mentioned that those will provide teachers hands-on items to work with and to prepare our students with. We don't want it to be teaching to the test. That's not what we're asking them to do. Stay within the core curriculum, but here are some items that they might see, and give them time to practice with them and try to integrate those in their classrooms. And we want our coaches to help us with this. So that was action 4. Required action number 5 is our last one. Create a rigorous, continuous program of professional learning that will align with the system's purpose and direction, is based on an assessment of instructional and student learning needs, and that builds measurable capacity among all professional and support staff. We've done a lot of work on this year, and it's worked toward the required action, but this is way beyond what advanced ed wants us to do. This is what we need to do as a district. We need to be very systematic about who receives training and when they receive it. Who receives it and when, and what does that cycle look like? What's that loop look like? If we say that all teachers should be trained in core connections writing, those examples I showed you, where teachers are collaborating on how to write good formative assessment questions, the expectation would be similar to Fry, when all teachers were trained in Fry, that every teacher would get core connections. So we have to have a tracking system, a database that says, here are the teachers that have received core connections. Here are the teachers that have received Collins writing, secondary Collins writing. They were at our PD training the other day. We identified the teachers that had not received Collins, and we gave that list of principals so that teachers would know where to go for that training. And they would be in the Collins training, because we want this cycle that everybody has, that we've all received the same training. DBQ, if you're social studies, every social studies receive DBQ training, so that when you get the resources, you're able, capable to use those resources. And I could go through all of them. The Leading Math Institute, we want eventually all of our teachers to be trained in those principles. The Leading Math Institute. Grade books, junior grade books. It's very similar to Avid. Every elementary teacher trained on junior grade books prepares them to be more collaborative in their instructional approach. Socratic Seminar, grade books, Avid, you're going to see Socratic Seminar. A lot of overlap, very systematic in how we approach this from this point forward. Differentiated school support model. I wanted to show you what this looks like as we were creating our PD system. We also have differentiated support in our schools, and we've assigned county office personnel to be in the schools on a regular basis. One of our goals was the first 30 days that we would be in every classroom in Lee County. First 30 days. So, the principals know who we are, the coaches know who we are, the teachers get familiar with us, we talk to lead team members, we walk through, and it's not a walkthrough gotcha. It's a walkthrough to provide support to the administrators and to the teachers. If necessary, provide side-by-side coaching. We have at least one county person right now that's working in a classroom for full lessons, providing support to those teachers. It requires a lot of time on our part, but it's worth the investment. We went to an executive leadership training this summer. Districts from across the state of Florida were in that training, including St. John's, who are #1 every year when it comes to test results. And when they asked us to identify through an inventory our greatest need, it was this in every district in that room. Differentiated support to schools. Principals need help, teachers need help, and that needs to be our approach, is to provide support to our schools. So that does address the professional development needs as well, because we get to see firsthand and hear from our teachers what their needs are. And from principals, lead teams, and so forth. In order for that to occur in a way that we can monitor and track, it has to be data driven. So So here's an example of a spreadsheet for Chiefin Elementary School. See the names of some of the district people that are there. In addition to the walkthroughs occurring by the principal, assistant principals at that school, here's the number of touches just from the district that we've had in those classrooms. And then from that, we provide some narrative on what we've seen, some of the positives, some areas that we have questions about, and then some recommendations, and we work with the principal and the team at the school. So this is just one example of that, and we meet every Friday to discuss this data as an instructional team, to see what are our needs, where do we need to move from here. And that's happening in our schools, all of our schools. In addition to that, we have our, of course, I mentioned the PD days, the early release, more systematic this year. Coaches are providing modules, they're developing modules that are then being delivered in the early release sessions at the school level. So when you look at required action number 5, professional development system, it's systematic because the coaches are involved, we're involved, principals, in identifying what the needs are and then delivering it during the early release. We also have the workshops, again, that tracking, making sure that all those that are teaching that content area are attending those workshops over time. We have our DIA and our SIP. Last couple items here. Our district improvement plan was written to align to those major areas that we want to focus on. That would be the high yield strategies. So when we walk through schools, it needs to be measurable that we're seeing some changes. An example of that. I'll just hone in on one of them. These are the goals on the district improvement plan. See how we're trying to be systematic about this. CWT data will show an increase in usage of rigorous coursework. High yield strategies, the data will also provide evidence of increased number of students in all classrooms who are actively engaged. It sounds a lot like what we have in our advanced ed findings. Student work samples and assessments will demonstrate over time a greater use of high yield strategies and metacognition. We also have it, there's a quantitative measure that says the percent increase, that there will be an increase of 4%, and that through the walkthrough data, we'll be able to show an increase of 10% per quarter in the use of the strategies. Sounds very technical, but it's a way for us to try to measure what we're seeing and the progress that's being made on the instructional side. Not just the data side, but the instructional side.
What does CWT stand for?
Classroom walkthroughs. We also have the FAST walkthrough form. In the district office, the school administrators have iPads, which we were able to purchase through Race to the Top. No cost to the district. So at any time, we can pull a report for the whole district to see where are our areas of strength, how are we performing in each component of Danielson. So here's component 2A, respect and rapport. What percent are we seeing in our classrooms? And where should we focus on professional development? And principals can share this out, this data with their staff and faculty and say, you know, let's look at questioning because questioning is so important. We've identified it as a high yield strategy. Discussion questions web. Level 4 questions. We want to see level 3, level 4. If you see a lot of level 1 questioning, then we're asking low-level questions, which could be too easy for our students and not preparing them to be successful on a rigorous assessment later on and in college later on. And preparing them for the SAT and the ACT and all those things that we know we're preparing them, or preparing them for industry certification and a career. So we want those questions to be at a high level, but we have data to support that by looking at the walkthrough data. Goes into the iPad, it syncs automatically, and then we can pull this data. And we talk about it at our principals meetings. Formal observations. Oops. Formal observation data is important, and the mentoring program that Candy and Michelle are working on is also going to help quite a bit. So finally, next steps. We've changed our principal meeting format. We're meeting with principals and assistant principals twice a month, but those are half-day sessions. So the principal will come for half-day, go back to the school. It's not a huge download of information. It's very concise, specific to some of those things we discussed today. And they go back to their school and they follow up and practice using some of those strategies that we discussed. They also share our information, important information. We need to provide ongoing professional development with follow-up via our coaches. Our coaches are very important to us. We actually asked them to come to our last principals meeting. So every principal brought their coach with them to our last principals meeting. They're vital to this process. Analyze observation data, as I showed you, and formative evaluation data to improve instruction. We have to learn how to use the formative evaluation data or formative assessment data in the classroom to improve instruction. We can't keep just testing students. We have to use the data to then make changes to our instruction. And then finally, what we hear over and over again from our teachers is we love to work together. So when we get this new item bank that Mr. Turner was asking about, Barb was explaining, is bring those teachers together to look at those items and come up with a plan on how to integrate them in their classroom. In preparation for March. March will be upon us in no time. So these advanced ed findings are just, they're a snapshot. We have bigger goals, and we're going to keep working on this work well beyond the next year when we have to produce our follow-up and our action steps in relation to these findings. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
When will these folks be coming back?
They won't be coming back for 5 years from the original date, which was last year, October, so we're good on that, but we do have to do the follow-up report in the second year, so this won't be due to next year, or a whole year ahead. But we want to show you that we're really integrating this work into our whole process.
On those item banks, are we using those for our EOCs that we're developing, or is it?
Some of the EOCs have been developed using some CFAC items, some items from in-house, some items that we purchased, but tomorrow we're going to have a better feel for what we have, what other districts have as we move forward. CFAC has a lot more available to us now, and because of our participation, we have access.
But I really am looking forward to the meeting tomorrow. Some of our NEFAC buddies, friends have said that they are anxious to share with us. We're anxious to share what we have with others, and so with 10 districts working together, there was a long period of time when I felt like we couldn't get there.
Right.
But I know we will now because of the collaborative effort.
They're going to be a big resource to us, but one of our greatest resources that we're really trying to tap into this year is our teachers. Listening to them, working alongside them to see what can we do to make things better for them, and also they're the ones that are on the front line teaching the curriculum. So we really need to listen to what they have to say about what's going on.
The teachers that have gotten involved with whether it's curriculum mapping or item bank, they are really ahead of people that sit back and wait for it to come to them. And so, you know, people that get involved, it's just like students. The students that are involved are way ahead of the students that sit there and nod. And so, you know, but same way with teachers. Those that get involved and help with the process, they're way ahead.
Well, I know Ms. Bishop will be really happy because she was very, very passionate about that.
Yes, you will.
But she did a good job.
She really did a lot of, a lot of homework, and so, but I know it's something she felt like would be very beneficial for our kids. Thank you very much.
As a county office, we felt like it was very important that we get them the items that they could use.
Thank you, Doc, and I appreciate the fact that you're letting teachers have to be part of the process, because I think we've been missing the boat on that, and that's just my opinion. But I appreciate the fact that teachers are actually involved in that process. All right, thank you. Government deal, that sounds like something I don't really listen to.
I might say that Gerald had a brother-in-law pass away, and that's why he's not here. Yeah, but Bob, if you would like to add in there anytime, feel free to jump.
I'm listening, amen.
Okay.
Board members, if you remember some time ago that you, we presented the concept to you about an online auction site to get rid of some of our surplus property. And we looked at 2 or 3 different things, and looked at the Citrus County, what they're using, looked at something University of Florida. University of Florida is actually using 2 things. So we kept coming back, one of the main things that we're after is how to, number one, we don't want it to cost the district anything, okay? And secondly, we need to be able to administer the program. And we listened to a presentation the other day by a company, it's GovDeals, and it's an online surplus auction site. And the reason it's called GovDeals is only government entities can post on it. Anybody can buy from it, but only government folks can post on it. And you can see a little bit up here about how many users, and it's kind of like different companies or whatever. You can see how many registered buyers that they have on, on the wall, but they have 2.8 million people, active bidders, that have access to it. They're registered. Okay. You can see some of the results here. 2013. What's important down here is they got a 90% success rate. And it's just like if you've been on eBay where you can set a minimum price and stuff like that, you can do that. You can set minimum prices. So if you sell 25 desks for $5, that's not, you can set the price threshold on it. This is very interesting here. Is, you can see that everybody from the Dixie County Sheriff's Department, there are 289 Florida clients, and that goes from the Dixie County Sheriff's Department all the way up to Miami-Dade. So it's either very small and very large. It can accommodate them all. And I'm going to show you a little bit what it looks like, and y'all can go play around. Here come the categories. Is there anything y'all want to go to? Sir?
Firearms.
Yeah, but you can actually have firearm accessories on that side.
We do need that, snow removal equipment.
This is all over the country, so you can restrict it to just Florida.
So here's sporting equipment, and you can see it's all over, and you can change it to see what's in Florida. On everything here.
They got a hockey Well, that was in Tennessee. Road trip.
Holiday seasonal.
School equipment.
Yeah, let's go to the school equipment.
See,
Touch one of them, Jay.
Daycare toys.
Make it bigger, in other words.
What, so you can,
You got a need for a well, Mr.
So
Jay?
you can- No, I was just saying you can expand the picture so you can see it better.
that was from Mr. Phil Potts there.
Thank you.
one of the things I want you to see over here on the right, you see the buyer's premium. It's set at 5%. And we can set this however we want to. And basically, the way this client here has it set up is that the bidder pays 5% and the client, which would have to pay 7.5%. okay? The total here is 12.5%. What we want to do is set it up, the buyer's premium is 12.5%. So that the buyer pays everything, we don't have to pay anything, okay? And the one thing that what we really like about it is we don't collect any money, okay? The buyer pays GovDeals, pay them directly. And, you know, we have an account set up, and they put the money in our account. If there's any sales tax fee collected, they collect it. You know, any of the fees that have to be out there, they do all that. All we have to do is be here, and they pick up their item and send it.
You gonna send us the money?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you anticipate this adding more work to Mr. Ward?
Well, this is the one Mr. Ward likes. I mean, certainly it's going to be some work, but I mean, it's, right now, I mean, we've got some stuff up on the side of the hill that we need to get rid of. We believe from what, of course, he's trying to sell us his product, but we believe we can get more money for our dollars. He even says, like, you know, we take off scrap metal. He says, you put the scrap metal on there and people will bid for it. So,
What's nice about it is you don't have to wait and collect all this information and all the surplus stuff and have a sale. You have it.
Anytime.
yeah, and see, the problem we have is we don't have a place to store everything. So when you can do it, and if it's a Williston High School thing, it can be there, and we pick up in Williston High School, so you don't have to, I mean, because there's some of the things that you can't pick up. You know, it might be a 6-burner stove that weighs 2 tons.
Once they pay for it, then the company will send a claims voucher to us into the client. And then they'll bring that claims voucher.
So this is recommended by the Finance Department.
Yeah.
So what you need from us, Logan?
Yes, sir, I would think.
And you're pleased with it as well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think it's going, I mean, right now, I mean, I know I've been around here long enough to see some things that disappear. And, you know, unfortunately, that's taxpayer dollars. And this is one way we can get some taxpayer dollars back into this area.
When can you quit if you don't like it?
I mean, there's no contract, there's not a, like I said, there's no, like with the Citrus County thing, it would cost a couple of $1,000s a year just to do it. But this, there's no cost. Either you do it or you don't.
Do I hear a motion?
Gerald's confident he can.
Yes, sir, he likes it.
Citrus County told me that they're getting a lot more for their products than they ever have before.
Maybe we accept the recommendation to participate in GovDeals.com. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
I will say this, that we tried to buy a trailer on this, we had a really good deal, and we waited till the bidding was almost over, and then we submitted a bid $100 over the low, the high bid that was on there. And that person was smarter than us, they knew how to play the game better. And so with 2 minutes to go till the deadline, boom, they beat us. And
But we learned. We were schooled.
I learned to find that on eBay one time. All right, thank you. Ms. Pam, is there any additions or corrections to the minute?
No.
Move approval. Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Consent agenda, Ms. Pam. Any additions to the consent agenda? Mr. Apple, you have any questions on the consent agenda?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Gower?
No, sir, I'm good today.
Mr. Turner? Have mine answered, thank you. I have none either. I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The consent agenda has been approved. Mr. Superintendent, comments and/or recommendations?
I'd just like to say, you you know, with all the change in education, how proud I am of our county, our teachers, our staff, our people at the county office that is supporting the schools and teachers, and everybody's working extremely hard. And it's a collaborative effort, and I'm so thankful that we got such good people working so hard in this county. And I do want to kind of prepare the board that with the new standards, which entail new curriculum, which entails new tests, you can look for the scores overall to go down to the state. And I think that's a setup by the state to some degree. You know, the scores will start out fairly low, and then we will start understanding the standards better, the curriculum better, what we need to teach, how the tests are going to be done. And as that process unfolds, you will see the test scores start to go up.
And then they'll change it again.
And then, yes, and then the state will pat themselves on the back and say, look how we've improved everything. You start out here and look where you are now. It's, you know, but irregardless, you can't ignore the fact that we got to get our kids ready. And I said, I never got too involved with the grades themselves, but I wanted to know that our kids were doing as well or better than other districts and other counties. That's the goal, is if we can be above state average, then I know we're doing a great job. So that's the part that we're working at, irregardless. Now, the other part of that is that the state says they will not hold the districts accountable, meaning that there won't be any low 300 this year, and you have to have another hour. Well, that's just wonderful. Districts will not be held accountable. But the schools are held accountable, the students are held accountable, the teachers are held accountable, and, you know, that's the cry from the superintendents is, you know, we need to put all this on hold and let us ease into it. I'd like to see them start out with just the core curriculum people, the language arts, math, and then expand into the science and the social studies. And then go from there, instead of just saying, you got to have a test ready for everybody and everybody's going to be accountable this year. That's, you know, just a really difficult thing to achieve. And, but we're working as hard as we can. We changed our structure this year, as far as getting more people out of the county office and into the schools, working with principals, working with teachers, making sure we're all on the same page. And I think that's a move in the right direction. And so, anyway, that's where we're at with that. But everybody, whether you talk about teachers or administration, they're all working extremely hard, and I'm very proud of them. I will say, another thing is, and Dr. Hall may want to chop my legs out here in a minute, but, you know, as we go through society and different things are more available, whether it's legal drugs or illegal drugs or whatever it may be, or just a sign of the times, but we do lead the state in having an ESE population. And, well, we're 1 point behind Dixie County, but the two of us are neck and neck in leading the state in the percentage of special ed students. And these students are coming with a lot more needs, a lot more concerns, a lot more attention has to be given to them. And that's a drain on the school system, it's a drain on our teachers. We have teachers that are being attacked by students, and I'm talking about young students. And, you know, and these are concerns. But in a public education, everybody is doing the best effort we got. And we will always do that and continue to do that. But it still takes more people and more time and more money to provide the services that are needed. So, anyway, I just wanted to throw that out and let you know that is a concern that I have also.
Mr. Superintendent, I don't care, this is just my opinion, okay? But it's not right to me, I don't care what the student is, or who student is, to hit a teacher.
Right.
So, but there's nothing that can be done about that?
Oh, we're working on it, yes, sir. We had a teacher and a guidance counselor attacked this week. And the parents of this little kid are upstanding citizens. I mean, both of them have good jobs. The mother and the father are firefighters, making a decent living. And the father said, you guys need to just toughen up. Y'all can't take a bite from a kid? What's the matter with y'all? And that kind of fired me up. And our teachers shouldn't have to put up with that. So we're working on that, and, but you're absolutely right, Mr. Philpott. It's something that bothers me greatly too.
Thank you.
Mr. Hayes.
I think we're waiting, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes.
The only thing I wanted to share is that the student that Mr. Hayes is sharing with you all, the student has not been found eligible for ESC services. But as Mr. Hayes said, any student, whether they're non-disabled or otherwise, they are coming to us with a lot of areas of concern. A lot of our young people are coming to us, have not had previous structured educational, in a structured educational environment. So when they come to us, they're exhibiting those behaviors that many times, I'm sure, are being exhibited at home. But yes, we have a process in place for all kids, whether they're disabled or otherwise, and providing those supports and strategies. But yes, at the end of the day, we want all of our faculty and staff to be safe, as well as our students, because that's the primary responsibility of the leader of the school, is to ensure safety for everyone. And yes, we're in public education, so we're obligated to provide students what they need. And as Mr. Hazen said, it's draining financially. It's draining because it requires additional financial support and resources to meet students where they are.
We're still funded on the matrix though, aren't we? The more services.
Not necessarily at the
Not like
254,
you said.
not in the old days, as we remember, Mr. Turner.
You were funded more if we had to provide more services.
We still do for
There's a
students that are in
couple.
254 or 255, but it's not the same level of support as we remember back in the day. They've changed the matrix of services funding. We still receive more, but it's not sufficient, not for the level of support many of our students need.
So the numbers like 254, et cetera.
Yes, those
They don't
exist.
necessarily correlate with the number and amount of
Not adequate, it's not,
accommodation.
yeah, it's not,
Yes,
adequate,
they-
it's not adequate
yes.
funding.
They do, but see, these are very severe, these two numbers here. And then you have all these students that are somewhere in between here and there. And we don't get funding for those. That's the problem, one of the problems.
And I will tell you at the state level, that's been our platform for our Council for Exceptional Children. It is every year about adequate funding. We're obligated to provide the services, no question asked about that. But with those mandates, we need adequate funding to support the level of students that come to us.
The other thing that makes me irritated is when the parent says, you got to keep them here and toughen up, and you need to teach them how to behave here. We're not the parent. Yeah, the parent needs to teach that child how to behave. And they don't want that responsibility, not all of them, but I'm being global here, but too many want us to do their job for them.
And it bothers me, and I know you think, I don't know what it sounds like, but it probably will sound wrong, but it bothers me, I don't care what kind of kid it is, that they think they can get away with hitting the teacher. That bothers me, because it's not right.
Well, this,
Of course, they probably hit their parents at the house too, but still, that doesn't make it right either.
I instructed the principal to call the police department. Of course, the child was so young, they won't arrest the child. But I said, the least you can do is write a police report on it. And I also instructed them to call Children and Family Services, because we gotta get that parent's attention that we're not gonna put up with this school system. We don't have to. Our teachers and principals, guidance counselors on that.
Going back to the changes and everything that DOE and what we're going through, you had emailed us the resolution that Duval County had adopted. And I know in the last couple of weeks, Alachua County, is that anything that you would foresee bringing something to us that, I mean, I
I
realize.
have given that a lot of thought, and I've gone both ways, Mr. Cameron. I do think that we need to get the state's attention, DOE, and we've listened to their talk, one playing off on the other, it's their fault, no, it's your fault. But they're getting the message, and Duval had a couple of little glitches in there, but overall, they listen when we present those type of things. I'm not saying we're not going to, but I'm just, I guess, kind of biding my time, trying to wait and see how it plays out.
Yes.
I don't want us to get hammered by DOE,
Right.
you know, and another thing, like I think it was West Palm Beach County, they don't want to keep hearing us say, we're not going to do it like Lee County did.
Right.
We're not going to do it. If we're not going to do it, let's have alternatives for them. You know, we don't want to do that because, but we can do this, which may suffice. And so I think that's where we need to go instead of just bucking up and saying, we're not going to do it. But yes, sir, I'm looking at that.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Board comments. Mr. Edwards, you have any comment?
The only thing I got is, I'll tell you, I think y'all did a great job. The Feast School Foundation did, especially when you consider how many things were going on that day, the turnout and all that. It was a good turnout despite having those things. Everybody, I think, had a
Food,
enjoyable time.
Food was
Food
very
was good.
very, very good, so.
Commend y'all on hard work. Good job.
I appreciate it, so, you know, there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting it set up, and people cooking, and it's, without the community partners that do the cooking and do those things, it goes a long way, so. And there was a lot of things, and our numbers were a little bit down, and hopefully we can settle on a date a little bit earlier to hone in on that, so there's not so many things, so,
My
but.
hand's still cramped up from stirring.
From stirring the
Shower.
pot, so.
You mean after 2 minutes of stirring, you add
I stir the pot all the time.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Cowell?
I don't think I have anything, so next meeting is reorganization meeting, I think, so for us.
That's the 11th?
No,
No,
2 weeks from tonight, so
18th.
18th.
Value Adjustment Board finished up today, so got that knocked out of the way. I think that's everything, so thank you to everybody that came to the Seafood Festival. And I know we've got fall festivals going on, I think Chiefland Elementary has theirs Friday night, Cedar Key has theirs the following Friday night, so if you get a chance to get out to one of those, so do so.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Not a thing.
When is that special meeting we have? Is it the 11th?
It's
12.
at 9 o'clock.
11 or 12? Okay. At 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just have a couple of things myself. This Thursday at the middle school in Williston, Land Remembered son is gonna be there. I think Ms. Cooey and some other teachers are kind of putting that together, but I think they have to read the book Land Remembered, and then they have to take a test, and then if they pass the test, they can come to like a Land Remembered reunion, for lack of a better word. They're gonna have demonstrations of how things were back during that time the book was written. And I think the last time I heard they had like maybe 60 or 80 kids that passed the test. And so there'd be at least that many kids taking part in that little deal. There'll also be a meal during that day. And Ms. Edison's in charge of you know, I thought he was gonna be cooking for Walt Cabot, but he said he was gonna be serving for Walt Cabot, so that might not be all bad. You know, we'd like to invite you to that. I think would be more than happy to have you if you'd like to come over on Thursday.
What time is that, Mr. Bob?
I think it starts in the morning, but it's gonna be an all-day meeting. And I think it's, I think that's just another way we have of getting kids to read things. And I think, we'll see how it works out, but I think it's a wonderful idea, and that's still one of the best books out there in the line. Also, my understanding, I don't have all the data on it, but I think that Wilson FFA alumni was the #1 alumni chapter in the state this year. I mean, sorry, in the nation. So, they work very hard, they do a lot of supporting our kids, in Williston and all across the county. Because I know they're doing some things to help keep them out. And I think it's pretty neat. That's all I have. Anything else?
Next board meeting, we'll be going to Cedar Key.
Okay.
I don't need mullet dinner again.
Okay.
So, do we have a executive session?
Today.
Tonight? Okay. With that, we're going to adjourn for about 7 or 8 minutes. Reconvene.